beautiful day for another weekly Q&A live stream. We'll start this one off with a very quick analysis here of Bitcoin. And of course, if you want to join in on future weekly Q&A sessions, then you can join the Discord link in the description below. It's 100% free to do, and just post your questions in the Discord section for the Q&A. Crazy stuff. Anyways, starting off here with a very quick analysis of Bitcoin. Overall, there is still hopium that Bitcoin is putting in a low here. It's the same thing that I've been saying for a couple of weeks now, or actually, I guess more than a few weeks now. As long as Bitcoin is above the March lows, there's hopium that the bull market is still on. The second that I see Bitcoin start to close higher term timeframes below those March lows, all bets are off. And I really do start to entertain the possibility of that after looking at some of the higher market cap altcoins just on a cursory look this morning. But as far as the short term goes, I'm not going to look you in the face and say that this looks great right here. Bitcoin's below all major moving averages. I still think that the daily hidden bearish divergence here could very easily beget another test down around the lows. Let's call it like 79,000 to 80,000 bucks, maybe to start off with this week. But after a big down week like we saw last week, which was historically one of the worst weeks of all time, on par with the Rona dump, by the way. And realistically, we've only seen, I think, a handful of times 10% down in a single week that actually held 10% down. Anytime you get an extreme event like that, you're probably going to bounce just by the virtue of it, relatively soon after that, maybe the next week, maybe the week after that. Traditional sort of knowledge would be, well, you sell off into Monday, and then Tuesday's the turnaround, assuming that Friday was a very bad downwards close, which we certainly did have that. On top of that, as far as the short term does go, we can see that daily stochastic momentum remains to the downside as long as Bitcoin is below 86,700 on CME. So, I do think that there is probably one more try to the downside still. At least that's what I'd be betting on if I had to bet on some direction right now. But that doesn't necessarily mean that things are going to break down. Again, it's the March lows that are the critical area, at least from my perspective. And there is a very obvious area to be getting massively fucking bullish on Bitcoin as well. I mean, it's just simply this last Wednesday's high. If Bitcoin can trade back above there and close above there, even on a daily time frame, I mean, that's my signal for, bull market's fucking on, baby. And you're probably looking at 100,000 plus relatively soon after that, within a month or so. Anyways, that's it for Bitcoin. Let's get into the actual questions of the day. We'll start it off with crypto Hood here over on YouTube. YouTube, as always, gets priority for these because we only do it for about an hour. We'll see how far we get on today's one. But he's looking for Galaxy Digital. It's Mike Novograd's company. Let's check it out over here. Okay, my dyslexia is killing me yet again. There we go. Okay, yeah, pretty nasty downside move. I'm just curious how much it's come down from the all-time high here. 63%. Wow. So this thing has a higher beta to Bitcoin. That's fucking crazy. I mean, Bitcoin's only down 30%. This thing is down 60%. And I'm pretty sure this is like a holding company or something for cryptos. Anyways, maybe they're holding the wrong ones. Anyways, looking at this here, again, just by the sheer virtue of having such a fucking bad downwards move and getting back down towards these last prior major trend lows, you're very likely in a bouncy region. You're coming off the weekly 200 simple. You're coming off the monthly 55, maybe even the quarterly, the quarterly 21. You're coming off of this as well. So in the short term, over these next couple of weeks, probably tries for a bounce. How high can it get on that bounce? Your last lower high is $17. So it's got a lot of work to do. And I wouldn't even get bullish if it gets back above that last lower high. I'd really be waiting for about $20 right here to flip around to being bullish. I mean, shit, if you want to be super, super conservative, then you'd be looking at $23. But regardless, I don't know how high this one's going to bounce. I mean, of course, there's uncertainty in every domain, but it's hard for me to look at you and say that this is going to put in like a macro low here and work its way upwards and onwards. At least at first glance, I have a hard time seeing that. The reason why I say that is because when we go over here, I'm sure the stochastic momentum is probably a little bit telling. We can see daily time frame, probably setting up for a bounce relatively soon, probably this week, and weekly as well. But Looking at the monthly, looking at the quarterly, yeah, this is where things start to fall apart for me. I do think, it bounces, but if you see it roll back on over, even close to the current lows, I think it's going much lower if that happens, below $10. You got monthly momentum coming down hard here. As long as you're below $32, that's more than a 2x from where it's trading at right now. Quarterly could remain to the upside. Current pivot is $11, but just opened. I don't think that's happening anytime soon. So yeah, my point is that if you want to play the hopium, then I guess you're looking for a short-term bounce, but I would be highly skeptical of any sort of bounce, especially as long as it's below that $17 high. But I'd even go as far to say the $20 high is probably the one to be managing off of. And I wouldn't be surprised to see this thing roll over and trade lower. I mean, if it comes lower, it's coming below $10. I think it'd be coming all the way down, like well below $10, somewhere between $6 to $8. But we'll take it one step at a time, of course. And then short term, it's likely looking for a bounce. Anyways, moving on from there, let's get into the Discord. By the way, this is where you can post up your questions. It's just in the weekly Q&A section. It's a little bit of a it's its own guard for a door to get into this, because some people, they just can't figure it out. They can't figure it out, but others can. And so we're going to do it for the people who can. Anyways, Tristram is first, and he has indeed identified that he is first. Yes, I also identify as being first. Hello, sir. I'm looking for ways to manage trending positions. One of the common tactics is when market suddenly comes in your favor is to take some profit while price breaks out of the Bollinger Band and buy back, speaking of longs, at next candle that closes within the BB. From backtesting, it seems like it should work well, but execution seems quite tricky. Do you have any tips for your own strategy for dealing with that kind of situation? Well, I don't trade like this, to be honest with you, man. I don't like micromanage. I don't like micromanaging positions, by taking like partial profits is what people call it. The reason why I don't like it is because you can't back test that accurately. It's too difficult. It's too difficult to do, at least with the tools that we have right now. But if I was going to give you some sort of I guess an easier method of perhaps taking some partial profit that could actually be systematized, I suppose, would be using something as simple as like the 5 EMA. And when price is trending, you generally expect it to remain above there. When it breaks below, maybe take a little bit of profits and expect things to kind of come back down and find a swing low, and maybe reposition there. I don't know. Again, I don't like trading like that. I don't like doing pyramids, basically. But it doesn't mean that it can't work. So I'd say try something like that. I don't know about using the Bollinger Bands for this. I mean, what's the guarantee that you're going to get price trading above the topside Bollinger Band? I mean, you don't get that too often just by the definition of it, because it's a 2 standard deviation away. So yeah, like if you take partial profits on that, I mean, it's going to be impossible to backtest accurately. So that would be my issue with that. Perhaps if you gave more criteria that like you were very specifically looking at, maybe we could have put it into the skeleton key from the Quant Prime and checked it out. But can't really do much with what I have right there. So that's all I got to say about that, man. Mr. Rectop says, GM, Crown, and Elsa, hope all is good. All is actually not very good this morning, man. I got a really good night of sleep last night, but I feel extremely tired and just completely out of it. I felt this way ever since the fucking time change. I hate the fucking time change. Oh, I really hate it, man. I really fucking hate it. Anyways, enough of my autistic rage. Would you have any recommendations for DCA in and out? You mentioned buying stonks on 10% or more dips. When it comes to stocks, yeah, my personal rule is 10 to 15%. I want to be in somewhere around 20 to 25% of my intended equity. If it comes down more towards 25 to 30%, then I do another 20 to 25%. If it comes down even more, well, then you got a real problem in stocks, especially. But in stocks, in the worst crashes, except for the Great Depression, which did go down to about 80%. But in all of the worst crashes from the past almost 100 years, there has been about a 50% drawdown. So I'll go all the way up to 50%, but I always want to keep at least some cash liquid in my back pocket. So I never, I always leave at least 10% of my intended equity on the side, and I'll just buy higher, if that happens. But until then, it's basically like every 10 to 15% down, I'll go in 20 to 25%, up to about 50%. Although these numbers, okay, 20, yeah, it'd be quite close there. The thing is that I probably wouldn't buy the actual like 50% down, to be honest with you, just because I'd probably be too scared. So I'd be holding on to some liquid cash there as well. Anyways, hopefully that was helpful, man. As far as DCAing out, you have to understand, when it comes to stocks for me, I'm very long term. I haven't sold anything since I've really started to get into long term investing, because I'm thinking 10, 20, 30 years down the road. Like, these are very long term holds. So I don't, I'm not even considering selling until we get to like that time frame. And at that point, what I'll want to see is some sort of like a monthly or quarterly swing high, confirming between the two. And at that point, I'll be like, okay, well, this thing's probably going to have another like major drawdown again. I might as well take out, a good amount. But I'd even then I'd still leave some in. Like, I'd never go all the way out, just like I'd never go all the way in. So, at most I might go down to like 10, 15% of prior position, like still having that. But yeah, anyways, again, very, very long term. So I don't know if that's helpful or not, but that's just my perspective on it. Anyways, Myth Reindeer says, hey, hello, how's it going? What's up, man? What is the outlook for Solana regarding its cycle high? One moment, I'm gonna take a sip of this water because I desperately need it right now. Okay, what is the outlook for Solana regarding its cycle high? Well, it already has a pretty nice cycle high. I think it has a great cycle high right here, at almost $300. Pretty fucking good. Pretty fucking good, huh? Look, as far as Solana goes, like, if I want to be bearish, I'll look at something like Solana. Quarterly bearish engulfing dildo. Momentum, I'm sure momentum is down on any time frame that we can actually populate a momentum average or momentum oscillator on. I really have a hard time seeing a lot of the high market cap altcoins pulling through here. Can I be wrong on this? Yeah, absolutely. But hey, you have a pretty nasty downtrend here, even on the daily time frame, especially as long as you're below 144. 144. That's like a 15% move from where it's at right now. No, it's 20% move from where it's at right now. So, it can bounce this next week or two and just play out like kind of a pity bounce, just the bounces that you get after being beat up so fucking much, and still roll over and go down. I mean, this is pretty nasty, but yeah, it's at these same lows over here. So I do think the next move is a bounce. I mean, I've been saying this for like a few weeks. We did get a pretty damn good bounce over here. I think that there might be another one as well. Coming off the same level, but long term, looking like many months down the road, I have to say I really hate this as long as it's below the March highs, which is 180. If it can trade back above 180, okay. Look, I'm wrong at that point. The cycle for Solana is not over. Maybe the cycle top is not even in, but until that happens, like I have a hard time seeing it, man. I really do. But again, maybe this is just a very tired and not optimized crown looking at this right now. So I'll have to look at it again tomorrow. Hopefully after feel a little bit better. But yeah, when I look at a lot of these things, that's basically my thoughts, to be honest with you. Anyways, you say, are we all done and time to offload everything on a bounce? I mean, I think if you've made a lot of money, then, offloading on big bounces, 20 or anywhere between like 20 to 40% bounces, it's not a bad idea to at least take some off the table. You can always buy in higher. I mean, if you made money earlier, like, it's just trading. That's all it is. Anyways, if Bitcoin is bullish by end of summer, so now we're making an assumption here that Bitcoin is going to be bullish by end of summer. Possible, yes. Like I said, as long as Bitcoin's above the March lows, I'm open to this. Like, the model isn't broken just yet. But what would it mean for, if Bitcoin's at 130 to 100, okay. So completely hypothetical here. I'm not saying this is going to happen or anything like this, but just an if situation. If Bitcoin got to like 130 to 150 thousand, that is, where would I expect Solana to be as kind of like a corollary to that? I would think it would be, I mean, if Bitcoin got there, I'd think Solana somewhere between like 600 to 800 bucks. So like a 3 to 4x from here off of a Bitcoin, almost 2x, something like this. Yeah. Actually less than a Bitcoin 2x. So yeah. That's what I got for that one, man. Samo Johnson says, "Hey, Crown, does Nvidia now have 2 or 3 drives of bearish divergence on the monthly?" All right, let's bring it up over here. Nvidia. Okay. It has 1, 2, 3 on the monthly. Now, to be fair, I mean, this was confirmed back in December. So this one's already been playing out a pretty decent amount. And you've already hit the very easy target for this one, which is the 21 EMA. So that's already a 40% downside move. The next target would be the 55. And that's significant. That's another 30% lower from where it's at right now. Again, like it makes me it's very difficult for me to be bullish on things when they look like this. Even the quarterly has bearish divergence, by the way, of 3 drives. So the easy target for that would be the same one as the 55 for the regular monthly, which is very low 60s. Things can get a lot worse, man. Things can get a lot worse. And this thing has a history of having these pretty nasty pullbacks. I mean, this was 70% back in, what was this? The last bear market, 2022. I don't even know if I'd call this bear market. It's just like a year of downside. It ultimately was a higher low. It's not like it was a monthly downtrend. Same thing over here, about 60% down from the high. So yeah, I guess it's not out of the ordinary for it to do something like that. 60% down here brings you exactly to low 60s. So yeah. Again, this can take a long fucking time to play out. If so, what would be the medium term? Yeah, okay, we already went over that. So all good, sweet. And of course, there's going to be bounces along the way. Like I said, probably coming to this next week of price action, especially for stocks. They've been beat up so bad. Like, just give them a little bit of a bounce, Anyways, Hamia says, "Hey, Crown, for long-term holds, would you consider holding any altcoin? Fuck no." Just enough of the questions. Or would you only hold Bitcoin? Only Bitcoin, man. This would be for 15 years plus. Yeah, if I'm thinking 15 years down the road, I'm only going to be looking at Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, XRP. I think that these could be easily different faces given enough time. Bitcoin is the only one that I would feel comfortable saying that for now. I'm not saying that the other ones are definitely not going to be around in 15 years. I don't fucking know. I have no idea. But if I had to put my money somewhere and I had to feel good about it, it would have to be Bitcoin, and I would not feel good about the altcoins, at least in their current state. So yeah, again, this is just my perspective. I'm not saying that if you want to get into Ethereum for a 15-year hold, that's wrong. I mean, maybe it's a great trade, perhaps. I don't know. I don't know, but I can tell you that I do know I would not feel as comfortable holding Ethereum than Bitcoin or any of these alts really, compared to Bitcoin. If anything, if I wanted to diversify, I would go into stock market. Or commodities, something else, maybe gold, honestly, if I really wanted to diversify. But I wouldn't diversify. I don't think that you're going to get great returns from diversifying into cryptos. I just don't think that you are. I think you're better off going heavy into a few big winners in cryptos, especially if they have staying power. Anyways, we'll move on from there. We have Cookie Monster next, who says, "Bonjour, Monsieur Crown and Madame Elsa. We're watching your channel since March 2020. Fuck yeah, man. Ben, best consisting. Oh, thanks, man. I really appreciate that. Hopefully I can do a good job today, though. My brain is definitely not feeling it. I'll tell you that. You help me see shitcoins like what they are. Fair enough. If there's one thing that I can do, I'm glad it's that. Question: do you think or care that a global crisis or financial downturn like Lehman Brothers in 2008 will affect your portfolio? Do I think it will? Of course, it would affect my portfolio. I mean, I own stocks and I own Bitcoin. So, yeah, I mean, if there's a global crisis or financial downturn, which we are getting a definite downturn right now, absolutely. Can Bitcoin withstand such an event? No, I think Bitcoin will go down with everything else as well. I'll explain why with the chart. So most people look at gold as a hedge for global uncertainty and everything. And I just want to show you what happened during the last global financial crisis. And even gold, compared to the stock, we all know the stock market went down a shit ton, but even gold, your high here was in '08, your low was over here in later on in '08. This was a 34% decline on gold, so much for a hedge, right? So do I think that anything's really safe? No, not really. Everything in the market generally trades with each other to varying degrees of strength and weakness. Just kind of my take on that one. So yeah, definitely would affect my portfolio. Can Bitcoin withstand such an event? I think it'll go down. Definitely. Whatever stock market goes down, it'll probably go down a little bit more. If a Black Friday would occur, what would you do? Do you think the euro dollar trade went? Okay, that's, I guess, crossed out there, but one moment. Okay, so if a Black Friday would occur, what would you do? I wonder if you think that a crisis like this happens at all. I mean, shit, man, like we just had the worst week since the Rona dump. And like I said, we've only even seen, I think 4 or 5 times in the last 100 years, more than a 10% decline in a week that actually held 10%. I'd have to say, I think it literally just happened. But I do understand that you are posting this question. This was last Sunday. So yeah, I guess you already have your answer with the perfect example, right? Yeah. So all good, man. But yeah, if you're looking for real hedges, like something that will actually go up when everything else goes down, it doesn't really happen, to be honest. There are typically big winners after the dust kind of settles. And my bets for those would be Bitcoin, tech sector, and defense, stuff like this. But that's just my opinion on it. Anyways, Free Mind says, hello, brother. I really wanted to say a major thank you. All good, bro. Going through some of the tools I recently got from you, and I can already see the value. Fuck yeah, man. That's the point of it. By the way, in case I completely forgot to say it at the beginning of this Q&A, but you can actually still try all of our indicator packages. Well, not all of them, but all of the ones that offer a monthly subscription for free for the first 30 days with a code trial in all capitals. And that would include the Quant Prime, that would include Quantum Wave Bands, that would include the VMP, and that would include Caretaker's full indicator bundle. So yeah, I'm glad that you're finding value in it, man. That is the purpose. Anyways, if you can, NDX or SPX. Okay, we'll just do one here. We do have a lot of questions today. So I will focus on NDX, represented by NQ. So this is Nasdaq futures right here. Look, you're back down around the August 2024 lows, also the April lows of that same year as well. Just by the not so virtuous measurement of getting back down around these lows, you're very likely to bounce around these regions. Can Monday open up a little bit lower? Sure, that would be the classic play. Monday, run it down a little bit more, then turn around on Tuesday. But you're in a bouncy region right here. So whether it bounces pretty much from where it's at right now, or if it trades down to like 16,700 first, I don't have strong opinions on this. But this area right here is a pretty damn good bounce area. And it can bounce a lot. It can bounce, shit, man, it could easily bounce back up to like 19,000 in a couple of weeks if it really wanted to, because these things can be quite violent. But as far as the long term goes, I do think that things, like it really does. Like the more I look at it, the more I'm like, I guess the quarterly here the monthly here, you have a chance for hidden bullish divergence. It would literally need to reverse right here though. Where would I get bullish on this thing? I guess maybe back above 20,000 or so. Quarterly, multiple drives of bearish divergence. My general target for that is going to be the 21 EMA, and that is significantly lower. That's actually even lower than the 2021 highs. I don't know if it gets all the way down there, but anywhere close there would be really fucking good in my opinion. That would also be a 32% decline from the highs. Yeah, that's investable to me as well. So yeah. As far as the higher term timeframes go, really don't like it. As far as the lower term timeframes go, well, you actually didn't give me any timeframes to be looking at. But as far as lower term timeframes go, I think you're generally around or maybe even in the bounce zone. But don't be surprised if Monday trades a little bit lower first. I mean, this thing could easily come down to like 17,000 even, and then try for the bounce. But I do think that come Tuesday and definitely before the end of this next week, you will see something resembling a bounce. How high can that go? Like I said, could easily come up to 18,000. Doesn't really do anything for it, though, as far as the long term goes. 18,000 would be the obvious target. Then you got about 18.5, but I don't think that that's happening in the short term, maybe more in the medium term, like a few weeks out. But yeah, I think it's going to take time out. MS33K says, good day, sir. What's up, man? Hope you're doing well as well. Could you please take a look at TASI? It's a stock market index, okay? TASI, all right. I'm guessing it's this thing. Shit, I wish you would have said. Okay, international total returns. I think that's maybe more aligned. Okay, that is literally not a chart. So that answers that question, I guess. We'll try this one. It's the only other one. So I hope it's this one. And let's see, what exactly was the question? The question was monthly. Yes. Okay. Let's go to the monthly. Not bad. Not bad on the long term, but in the short term, I'm not a humongous fan of it. I think in the short term, you're doing something like this. You have rising bottoms coming along there. You have same tops coming in here. So you are in a reaccumulation formation, like an ascending triangle. But I do think that you probably test closer to the bottom side of this, of this trend line here, which is probably going to be in alignment with the monthly 55 at 11,200, something like this. But yeah, I mean, long term, I definitely don't hate this. Like, this is good long term. Very, very good long term. I just think, if I had to bet on a direction in the short term, I think that it probably has a downside move here. Weekly, I guess, has a little bit of hopium, but does a weekly supersede a monthly? Typically, no. Oops, that's 10 day. Let me go to the weekly. Yeah, because the weekly's still coming off of the 200 simple here. It's hard to get bearish coming into a region like that. Yes, at some point, it can and will break, but it's always difficult to anticipate that actual breakdown before it actually happens, because that's just such a strong region usually. But it also gives you a pretty obvious area to be looking for that move down to the low 11s, which is just a break below there, and that opens up the doorway. All right, we got Manticore next. He says, greetings, sir. Most important question. LOTR, Lord of the Rings or Hobbit movies? Oh, come on, man. You already know the answer. Lord of the Rings movie. I just wish that they made like a rated R version, and then we could see like Gandalf sex scenes and shit like this, Gandalf and an orc. That'd be great. Or Bilbo. Sir, I did your TA course. One question. I note there is often a bullish divergence and hidden bearish divergence, pretty much at similar times, like on the Bitcoin daily chart the past week or so on the CTRSI. Same with the hidden bullish divergence. Yeah. I know exactly what you mean. So you're probably talking about this, where it gets the hidden bearish divergence anchors here, and then also regular bullish divergence anchors there. But if you look at the actual chart, when these happen, the side to pay more attention to is the side that's on the same side of the trend. So this is obviously a downtrend, so we care more about the hidden bearish divergence signals within this. And when you get those those bull divergence signals, well, that's actually a pretty damn good indication that you're going to rally back up into one of those lower highs yet again. So, when you see something like this, my rule is I always favor the most recent one. And yes, sometimes especially during the ends of these sessions, like you'll see multiple very close to each other, and it can become very difficult and very confusing. But in my experience, just whichever one's the last one, I go with that one. And if that changes, from day to day, then I just have to change from day to day with it. That's the way that I look at that. But yeah, in this case, or in general, sort of a guiding heuristic that you can use is whichever divergence is on the same side of the current trend, favor that until you at least get like 3, maybe 4 drives if it's a little bit more crazy. But after that, you can get like a really decent counter reversal. But until then, you're better off betting on the same side of the trend when you get those signals. So yeah. All right, nice. Sugar Booger says, I hope all is well. Can you look at NQ 4-hour and daily? Sure. We already kind of looked at it on the very high term timeframes, but obviously the 4-hour and the daily, much different. Anyways, 4-hour time frame, is this even going to have a chance to have bullish divergence here? It literally cannot even have bullish divergence because it's made lower lows on the 4-hour RSI. I do think that this thing probably comes a little bit lower to open up this week. But like I said, you're in a bounce area here. Whether it comes down to 17,000 even, or if it tries it pretty much from where it's at right now, I think it's kind of splitting hairs. I think generally you're in a bounce region. You're also seeing daily double extremes on the daily BBWP. Again, the second extreme here can stay there for a while, but look, I don't think it's going to have like another like shattering downside move from here. Like I don't think it's going to go here from where it's at right now, another 10% down, for example, like without like a decent bounce in between there. I think that you at worst go down like maybe another 2.5-3% from where it's at right now, then try for a bounce. But yeah, I mean, it does look pretty fucking ugly. It's fun. It's fun to read these because all of these were from the past week. So it's interesting to see how things evolved, during that time. Treebit says, hey, Crown, euro dollar on the daily weekly. Sure, man. This one I was essentially bullish on it because I've seen this one play out too damn much, even though if you go off a classical TA, you'd have to say that that's bearish. But yeah, and this is exactly why. I actually haven't even looked at this chart recently, but higher low now, you traded back up towards that prior high. I think that this one, maybe it's not on this current move. Maybe it spends more time going sideways in the short term, but overall, I do think that this one will trade higher. And at some point, you actually will see this thing very likely close to... I mean, like 120, maybe it doesn't get all the way up to 120, but perhaps in like the next year or two. Yeah, I'd be looking for something like that. You even have a drive of phantom bullish divergence come off this last quarterly low, by the way. So in the short term, which I don't think that you're very interested in, but in the short term, yeah, it's going to play off this moving average right here. It's probably going to put in a bit of a consolidation on a pullback, but I do think that it will push through and work its way higher overall. But in the short term, should pull back a little bit more. Don't know if that's super relevant to you, though. Oh, you're on a daily weekly, so maybe it is. Hold on. Daily, you're going to have some bearish divergence here. So I do think, you probably pull back down towards like 108 even, somewhere around there. That's fine, though. It doesn't really do anything. I think you said weekly as well. Yeah, the weekly we kind of already went over. It hit a major moving average here. So your consolidation range is basically the high of there versus the low of last week. And, I'd be looking for it to kind of play within that boundary for a little bit of time. But I do think it will resolve to the upside, actually, given enough time. But again, this can take many months. Anyways. Oh, okay. Okay. Chev says, GM, sir, I still go back to your point of one good way to make people hate you is to lose them money. I'm starting to see it from coworkers and most of my friends that voted for Trump are starting to heavily dislike him after Trump coin and now tanking traditional markets. Yeah, man. What do people care about? Themselves, and themselves are their money. So yeah, of course, just simple human things there. Anyways, triple Qs, what are some entry targets to start DCA on a daily, weekly? It depends how long you're trying to hold these things, man. I can only give you my perspective, but I mean, look, it's already down 20% or so. Like, I'll tell you exactly what I did. I put in my orders for Monday, and I will buy some just because it's down 20%. That's just a rule that I have. I do think that it will go lower, though. I really do. But does it bounce here? Probably yes. Does it head lower after that? If it does, I'd be looking somewhere like 390. But again, this can take a very long time to play out, you know? So I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves just yet, but yeah, you know, like I said, if it's a 20% downside move for traditional markets and I'm investing for the next 10 years minimum, yeah, I'm going to buy that. I'm just going to buy it. Just a personal rule. So yeah. Anyways, iSky Ski says, Morning Crown, on ES futures, a recent contract price switch happened on the 318 and price gapped up above a support resistance level I've been watching. When this happens, do we consider price to have closed above that level? Or since it was a contract switch, you can't really put that much weight on it? Yeah, can't put that much weight on it because it's a different relationship now. So it's, of course, that's... And as you identified, it failed in reverse, so it's a moot point now. Yeah, exactly. So it's like a perfect example right there. It worked out in the exact way. Yeah, you can't make the same relationship. It's a new equation now, new players. Nuke the Black Cube says, "Oyo goizamizu Divergence." Yes, hello to you as well, sir. Crown, did you ever do an interview with Keith Gill, Roaring Kitty? No, I have not. I remember if this happening after the historic GME pump. Nah. You must have me confused with someone else. I've never spoken to him. Perhaps a Mandela effect or deleted for legal reasons. No, I don't really do too many interviews, to be honest with you. But yeah, that was someone else you must be thinking of. Mr. Barash says, finally got around to watching American Primeval. Haven't finished it yet, but so far it's good. Yeah, man, it's fucking crazy. AMC used to have Hell on Wheels. Is that the Hell's Angels one? But not as gory. Could be a good fit. What percentage of your total traditional / crypto trading portfolio is in cash for downside moves? Well, right now I'm about 50% cash. I put 50% to work based off of the first 15% downside move in traditional markets, and then this next 20-ish plus. So I'm about 50% in of what I really want to be, and I'm holding the rest for another 15 to 20% if we get it. As far as crypto goes, I actually look at that a little bit differently because if I include that, then the ratio would go down a lot, but. Anyways, sorry, I need to reread the question because my brain is actually breaking. What percentage of your total traditional, is in cash for downside moves? Yeah. Okay. So for crypto, I guess I am actually right now, I'm pretty similar. 50% cash right now. Oh, yeah, fair enough. All right. I don't know if I necessarily intended for it to be that way. In fact, I think I kind of like to be even a little bit more cash right now. But I think of crypto a little bit differently, or Bitcoin a little bit differently, I should say. You mentioned some of your videos that in traditional markets you buy 10 to 15% dips on things you're watching / hold, but I'm assuming you don't use the... Yeah, exactly. No, of course. Never go all in. I mean, I'll do almost an equal weighting to how much percentage it is down of the full amount that I intend to invest over a long time. So for example, if it goes down 15%, I'll put 15% to work, something like this, maybe up to 20%. I can do a little bit more. Yes. But yeah. Hopefully that's helpful, man. Okay. Yeah. And I don't use the entire cash position at any point, by the way. So even when things have bottomed, or if I think they have actually found a macro bottom, I do not put in that last minimum 10%. I will put that last 10 minimum percent in if we get a confirmed reversal, and then I'll just, I'll feed the reversal, but I'm not looking to potentially be wrong on the last 10%. Like, Jesus, man, really fucked this one up. So yeah. Tobo says, GM, I hope you're feeling nice and hydrated. You know what? That reminds me. One moment. All right. Nice one. TPL quarterly and monthly. Okay. TPL. What's this? Texas Pacific Land Corporation. Cool name, I guess. Quarterly. Bearish divergence. But this one actually literally just started. So this is unconfirmed, although it doesn't look too great right now, but looking at the monthly, has its own bearish divergence going back quite a fair bit. I'm inclined to say this thing will go down more in the near term, maybe this month, maybe next month, below $1,000, like somewhere around 950. There should be a bounce there. Come back to it after that. If the bounce fails, I'd be looking all the way down around 700, a little bit above 700, that is. Let me see, was that even the right one? Yeah, quarterly, monthly, yeah. I don't think it's just going to like reverse from here and go to fucking new highs or anything like that. I think you're playing out a greater pullback. The only hopium is that, you know, quarterly, you're still above all major moving averages. It hasn't closed just yet. If it does close anything like this, yeah, you will have bearish divergence on the quarterly, and that becomes a very easy call for somewhere around $700. But until that happens, I guess it's possible it could pick itself up over the next 3 months. You know, this one just started here. So let's say it comes down in, what's the month after this one? May. It comes down to like 950, 960, bounces there, and then reverses in June. I guess that could save the quarterly, so it's possible. But I don't know if I'd be betting on that side right now. I mean, when this thing has found extremes here on the monthly BBWP, you know, it has come down to some of these lower moving averages. So I'd probably be betting on that side, but we'll see. We'll see. At least there's a little bit of hopium. Mr. Lovewoods is back. Says, thanks for helping out, sir. No question today. I'm just sending. So fucking nice, man. I appreciate that, brother. I appreciate that, man. It's always good to see you in the Discord as well. But thank you for that, man. Thank you. Mario Super says, hey, Crown, like your content, probability-based strategic approach, trading mindset, and these Q&As. Yeah, man. I'm glad that you enjoy it. Watching almost all of it since many years. Fuck yeah, dude. That is my favorite type of comment. It's like, hey, I've been here for a long time. It's like, good, because that tells me that you know, it's still valuable to you. So like I'm on the right track. As you like non-TA topics as well, something philosophical / psychological might not be the best day for that for me, but I'll try my best, man. Anyways. Entertainment as a toxic input for the mind, like crap fast food, excessive amounts of sugar, and so on, would be for the body. Yeah, I generally agree with that. Example, American Primeval, as you mentioned it, but it can be exchanged with many things. Yeah, you know, I've gone back and forth with this a lot. Like, is watching a movie just stupid entertainment, and I'm just and I'm actually like hurting myself more than I'm helping myself? It depends what you watch. I think this is actually why there's so much of a commotion right now in the mainstream about, you know, Disney movies like Snow White, right? Because the original intention of the Disney movies was actually very interesting. Like, they were essentially retelling these ancient stories in a modern tone that include like really, really powerful moral ideas and ways to kind of live your life. And these, you know, when you hear these stories when you're a kid, especially, like, it seeps into your mind and you start to play it out. So it can be really, really useful. I mean, the reason why movies like Star Wars and Lord of the Rings and all of these great films are so popular is because it's telling a very common but ancient story about the hero's journey. And the hero's journey is essentially, the way that I understand it, is essentially the sort of roadmap that you can use to master any new skill and bring value to yourself and also your community. And that's a really fucking powerful thing for humans, right? So is that stupid entertainment? No, I'd say that that's very valuable. But of course, there is a lot of stupid entertainment. Like, if I watch Desperate Housewives with Elsa, am I getting anything from that? No. I'm probably melting my brain. But yeah. Anyways, while horrible things happen during that time, like many times, unfortunately, the recurring gratuitous rough rape violence the show is pretty obvious. A lot just about shock value to get mentioned in media, sensationalism to get views. I don't know if I draw that same conclusion. Like, these things did happen, man, and life was rough, and that's what I appreciate about these things, is that I can kind of put myself in that situation and just think about what it was like and how fucking lucky we are now that, you know, we don't deal with that level of fucking degeneracy. But yeah, anyways, you say, it irritates me, to say the least, that so many people seem to enjoy content that is focused a lot on trying to recreate such horrible acts on the movie screen. Not real, worrying. Anyways, yes and no. It depends how it's done, in my opinion. Like, there can be some very powerful scenes in movies that stick with you, and they help mold your personality and mold the way that you look at the world. And it can actually be in some very, very constructive and powerful ways. But of course, I definitely agree with you that, like, in many of the cases, especially in modern times, that's not the case. Like, it is just for shock value. It is just for, to gross the audience out and make people interested that way. Anyways, you even mentioned the word traumatizing yourself a few times talking about it. Yeah, a little bit of hyperbole there, to be honest. So you seem like an empathetic, sensitive, reasonable person. Maybe on a good day. Seriously, at least is what I get from your videos. So my question is, why do you think people who are lucky enough to not have to witness or worse, be involved in such things in real life? Oh, it's very simple, man. It's the same reason why so many people are obsessed with studying things like the Holocaust. It's like, you want to know, one, out of a respect for what happened, two, so that you actually do understand what happened and why it happened, and then three, it gives you gratitude for how good we have things right now. Like, when I watch these movies about completely fucked up topics and fucked up places and time and in the world, it just makes me realize, like, oh my God, we're so lucky. We're so lucky right now. It's insane. But yeah. Okay, so you're saying it's an unrealistic portrayal of the Wild West. Do you know for sure? Because from what I understand, like, it's not too far out of left field, man. But maybe I'm wrong. Anyways, yeah. If it's not going to be historically accurate, might as well just make it it is fantasy at that point, right? But yeah, I am enjoying the warmer coming months in Finland, but not right now, sir. It actually snowed yesterday when I was on my way to boxing class. All right, GH52, hello, sir. Yes, okay, so you got that. I'm guessing this is the same guy over here. So I think he figured that out, so good. I think you asked it. I think you asked your question on this one, and you didn't realize that I was doing the one from the week prior. But I understand it can get confusing. The muzzle fucker says, "I offer 29 camels for the women. Do you accept?" Yes, but under one stipulation. If I offered Elsa a few million peanuts to give you another black eye, do you think she would do it? I don't have a good comeback for that today. My brain is so wrecked, man. Holy shit. So fucking tired, man. All jokes aside, take a look at SEI, and please lie to me. Tell me that there is some hopium. Let's check it out. All right, SEI. You can just have Elsa for free. No, kidding. Okay, I love Elsa very much. She's great. Anyways, SEI. Wow. I know there's actually one thing that will make you feel better, and it's this. You simply hit Alt plus I on your computer. That'll flip the chart for you, and now it's bullish as fuck, sir. I don't like this, man. I don't like this. If there was going to be any hopium, I think it would have happened on this bounce in February. Instead, that was, would you even call that a lower high? I mean, it's just, yes, it is a lower high, but it's so weak already. The hopium is that if you love it at 16 cents, you're going to love it at 10, 11 cents, and you can DCA in there as much as you want for probably a big bounce, but shit, I ain't saying that this thing is gonna reverse from there though. I think it bounces there though. Pretty fucking bad, man. Yeah, and that's also my issue with a lot of these shit coins too, man. A lot of them look like that. They're losing not just weekly structures now, but monthly. That's never been a good sign in cryptocurrency. It's always been long term down from those. Nick Luss says, Crown, love your stuff. Been watching daily for at least 2 years. Fuck yeah, man. This is good. This is what I like to hear. What's a PA pivot indicator I've been seeing in your videos recently? Okay, so you have caught on to one of the things that we've been testing and trialing out recently. This is an indicator. You can see it at the top right-hand side here, and also plots the last recent higher low that is relevant to the trend on the chart with this line right here. And that's actually being made by a good friend, Bear Nutrition, and also a great member of this community. And he's a perfectionist, so I know that he doesn't want to release this just yet because he wants to make it as good as he possibly can. In my opinion, it's already really fucking good. So I'm hoping that we can release this to the public relatively soon. But it's actually like, it's honestly a very simple thing, although the coding portion of it is certainly not simple, of course, but it is just telling you what the last most recent low and high were. And you can essentially make trend assumptions based upon that, and also range assumptions in the case like you see right here. We get actually both sides of this one printed, but when things are trending, it just gives you a very obvious bias area. So right here, when it prints this as bearish bias below, it's like, okay, do you want to take a scalp short, back down to the next low? Probably not the worst time to do that. Typically tends to work out in that fashion. So yeah, it's something that I'm really, really excited for. And I think a lot of people in this community will actually really, really love it as well, just because there's one thing, the easiest and most simple thing to ever trade upon is trend, and having an indicator that just does it for you correctly. I would say at this point, about 90 to 95% of the time, that would solve a lot of issues. That would solve a lot of pain for people, I think. IV Dow SV says, "Hello, good sir. I've been watching your channel since Corona." This is great, man. It's so many people today. That's awesome, man. And technical analysis hasn't been referred to as tentacle analysis in a long time. I actually never meant to say tentacle analysis. It's just my fucking mouth doesn't move properly. So yeah, tentacle analysis. Today is a very big day for some very high quality and very important, very serious TA or tentacle analysis. On boocake.com. Smicky says, "Hello, Captain. Assuming you have two equally robust algos, would you rather continue to run your algo that is in a drawdown but could be showing signs of life, or switch to a version of the algo that hasn't undergone any significant drawdown over the past couple of years, but has historically?" Oh, this is a hard question. This is a really hard question. Okay, to answer this question, I'd actually have to know which algo were you using prior to making or needing to make this decision. Were you using the one that is now currently in a drawdown, or were you using the one that is not in a drawdown? If you're using the one that's already in a drawdown, and historically they are more or less the same between the two different strategies, I would actually go towards that one, just because you're probably seeing a lot of the pain, or most of the pain, that you're going to see on that one. Again, this is assuming that both of these strategies are more or less equally robust, as you said. So that's how I would think about that. But if I wasn't using that one, if I wasn't using the one that is in a current drawdown, would I continue to use the other one, or was I already using that other one? I'm not sure. Actually, I'm not sure, because yeah, that kind of changes things around, I suppose. But anyways, I'm probably complicating this way too much than what it really needs to be. But I would say, look, if you were using the one that's already in a drawdown, I would probably just go with that one for right now. Again, these are equally robust strategies. So I would look at it as like, look, we're in a very interesting time in terms of, the environment for price. I think you're probably better off assuming that your other one's going to witness a similar drawdown as well. Steiner says, and again, this would assume that they're on the same side of the market, like they're both long or they're both short, they're both of the same type. These sort of things. Anyway, Steiner says, could you check IEP 2 hour daily? Sure, man. Let's check it out. All right, IEP, or was it IEP? Hold on. Okay, yes. And is this crypto or it is a crypto? No, are you looking at the Irish currency, or no, you're looking at $ IEP. So it must be this. Wow, really bad. Shit, this is maybe the worst one we've seen all day. This one's already back down around the 2000. like the year 2000 lows. You know, when I see something like this, man, it's like you're around these lows. I think that it probably does reach closer to these prior 2002 lows. But this is going to be a bounce area. I'm not saying the bounce is going to be a reversal. I'm not saying it's going to go back to all-time highs or anything like this. I do think you could have a pretty decent move. You know, again, this would assume that things go a little bit lower first, but you know, it could easily bounce back up to like $20 plus, and then have another major downturn. But I would be expecting a big bounce around that region. I don't necessarily know what time frames you're on, or no, you did say 2 hour and daily. 2 hour, ugly as fuck. But is it going to bounce soon? Again, it wouldn't take too much to bounce back up to like 840. And then what was the other time frame? Daily? Yeah, daily. Let's see. Daily probably a little bit easier. Daily makes me think that this thing's going to dump more opening on Monday, man. And then probably find its bounce on Tuesday, and maybe it bounces back up towards like 840 to 850 after that happens. Heavily bearish as long as you're below the PA pivot right here, actually. Anyways, moving on, we got Calamity. He says, top quant, what is the difference between stochastic and stochastic RSI? Actually, it's very simple. So stochastic RSI is a stochastic measurement of the RSI, and the stochastic oscillator, like the regular stochastic oscillator, is just stochastic of price. So one's a stochastic of the RSI, one's a stochastic of the price. That's like the fundamental difference. I heard you mention stochastic RSI was garbage, and curious why you preferred stochastic over it. For measuring sort of shorter term momentum, I find that the stochastic is more accurate. I find that the stochastic RSI does not do a good job of what it's trying to do. I just find that the signals from it are very noisy. Yeah. Cloud says, hey, Crown, was there anything in particular about trading that you were drawn to that led you down this career path? And does that still interest you to this day? Yeah, of course. I mean, it's a very simple answer, man. It's just being both responsible for your wins and your losses in your career or in your financial life. For me, I like to have control like that. I don't, I look at as having any sort of a job as very risky because, you might get fired from a job. You might, I don't know, your job might go under, like the business just breaks. I'd rather be closer to being able to directly solve my issues. So with trading, like, you're as good as your last trade. You're as good as how you can trade, so, and the barriers to entry for that are very, very low. But yeah. And then of course, like, the other thing that really hooked me is the same reason why I got hooked to shit like World of Warcraft. It's just when you put so much time into something and you see yourself getting a little bit better day by day, it's so fucking addictive. It's so fucking addictive to go through that process. Because I think that's like one of the fundamental processes of being a human, especially a human male. In fact, that is the story of Star Wars. That is the story of Lord of the Rings. I mean, these are very, crazy, or not crazy, but very outlandish examples, but it is the same process, really. So yeah. Anyways, apart from money, even though, and the money, obviously the money, yes, does help as well. Of course, we wouldn't be doing it if we didn't get money from it, of course. Although trading is very, very fun. It's like a video game, man. At least that's kind of how I consider it now. Frackman says, hello, Crown. I know you said only one question, but I do want to ask first, how's the transition going? Well, I need another hair transplant, so I need to get another transition, to be honest with you. Also, can you explain, like, I'm a 34-year-old redact. Why do you use a mix of EMAs and SMAs in your analysis? What are the specific advantages of using one over the other in different scenarios? Okay, to answer this question, I need to break down like a 20 to 30 minute long video. If you wanted to go over like the full specifics of it, that's primarily why I have programs like the Trade Like a Quant program to kind of go into these sort of things. But as far as what I can say on YouTube, it's simply because I found that those work really, really well with responding to price. And the crosses between all of those have general interplays and actually mean something. Yeah. I guess that's how to break it down for like a 5-second explanation. I know you have Cookie Monster says, I know you have difficulty watching other channels, but try Trader's Reality with Tina from Cyprus. I think you might like it. Give it a try. Thanks for all you do. I appreciate that, man. Again, I don't watch other channels because it's difficult for me. I don't watch them because I don't fucking care, to be honest, man. And I'm not saying that to be like arrogant or anything. Or anything like this. It's simply because one, I don't really care about other analysts' views. And look, like I'm friends with other analysts, like Michael Bazzino, Jason Bazzino, many other people as well. They just come to the top of my mind, but I don't watch their videos. Like and I'm sure that they don't watch my videos. Like that's fine. It's just I'm not interested in knowing what someone else thinks, even if I think that they have a good idea. One, because I want my content to be fresh and I want my content to be unbiased or at least unaffected from other people's points of views. So I'm sure Traders Reality is great. I don't know. I'm sure it is great, but you know, when I have my free time, I want to be spending my time learning about other things than just like another person's perspective on price. You know, I want to learn about like some philosophy, or I want to learn about a new skill, or maybe learn how to do business better, because I definitely need fucking help with that. But I'll tell you, YouTube business or the business side of things here, not related to trading, but the business side. That is, I understand now why it's such a big deal to like run a successful business. It's fucking hard. It's really fucking hard. So yeah, learning a lot about that is very useful. Anyways, I think we have time for another one or two. We'll do these last couple ones here. All right. Texas SIGEP says, hey, Crown, do you have any mid to long-term hold positions, or are you strictly stacking sats and swing traded? Yeah, no, I don't do mid to long-term hold positions, unless if you just mean like my long-term Bitcoin holdings or my long-term stock market holdings. But again, those are like 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 years out. So yeah, you know, any sort of more active trading I do through my bots with Quant Prime. And that's generally lower time frame, like hourly to 4-hour type stuff. Moon says, hey, Hell Crown, I had bought the Mafioso NFT, because you're talking about meta signals, when Ethereum was over 4,000 a month ago, and I completely forgot to do the steps to get the portion of the money back and added benefits that's still available. I'm sure it is. I'm sure it'll be fine. I even responded to you here as well, but, you know, contact meta signals for that. I'm not I'm an investor in meta signals, but I'm not like working for them, you know what I mean? So you have to ask like the company that is responsible for it, but I'm sure it won't be an issue at all, man. I'm sure you'll be able to get whatever benefits, perks, or anything that you're entitled to. It shouldn't be an issue at all, man. Nathan's very, 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 very reasonable person. So yeah. Anyways, my suggestion would be to reach out to them, sir. They also have their own Discord as well, which you can actually find a link to in the description below to all their stuff. All right. That is a good place to leave it off. Just 1 minute over 1 hour. I am tired as hell. I'm hoping to get some sleep and some recovery before tomorrow, Monday, because I think that things are going to get interesting tomorrow. The more that I look at the Bitcoin, the more I think, do I really think Bitcoin's going to hold here? If you ask my gut feeling, is Bitcoin going to hold here? Is Bitcoin going to fail? I think Bitcoin's going to fail, but I don't trade my gut feeling. Gut feeling's wrong all the time. So we'll see. I think that we get clarity on this situation early this next week. So yeah, that's where I'm going to end things for today. As always, I want to wish everyone the best of the best. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully Monday.